Welcome to our third eye chakra consciousness. Eek! Curious how you're feeling. The third eye is being woken, activated, seeing the truth. Third eye chakra relates to seeing the truth. If there was one word to describe the third eye chakra, it's relationships. But it's also about seeing the truth. So it's kind of more than one word. It's like seeing the truth in relationships. And we have to remember that we are in relationship to absolutely everything. Yeah, absolutely everything that we're in relationship to. I have a relationship with my phone. I have a relationship with my business. I have a relationship with my dogs. I have a relationship with my food. I have a relationship with the way that I drive into town. We are relating to everything all the time. Yeah. So we're going to dive deep into the third eye chakra consciousness today. I'm a little bit excited and a little bit like, whoa, like, why do I go through everything that I teach? I don't know. It's like just the way it is, I guess. So I'm just going to bring up these comments here. I remembered my laptop today, which is good. And then I couldn't go live on my other phone, and I'm like, why isn't this letting me go live? It said that I'd just been updated, and I'm like, I don't think so, because you're not letting me go live, so I don't know what's going on. Oh, hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the globe. Okay. So if I just find this live stream, I'm going to share this, and then we shall be rocking and rolling for the third eye chakra consciousness. It's pretty cold this morning, but it's actually not as cold as last week. I brought my big jacket, but I don't think I need to wear it this morning. Hello. Curious where you are around the world as well. If this is your first time joining my live stream, say hi and welcome to the third eye chakra consciousness. Get ready for a ride. Okay. Perfect. All right, I'm just gonna bring this up as well. All right. Awesome. Can't wait to see what changes come this week. Yeah, watch out. Watch out. Yeah, it'll be like revelation after revelation, seeing the truth, dynamics, seeing different ways that you relate to yourself, relate to other people, relate to everything in your life, relate to how you feel in the emotions. So it's a big one. It's a big one. Just got off the beach. It's turning to summer. Beautiful. Yes. Hi, Libby. Yay. Yes, I was a little bit late because it wasn't letting me go live so whatevers. Okay. So, third eye chakra consciousness, as I said, relates to relationships and also to okay. Comments not coming up. Whatever's, just gonna have to watch the comments on this phone here. Don't know what's going on my other phone this morning. Okay. So yeah, relates to, I'm not having a very good relationship with my laptop and my other phone this morning. There we go. So relates to relationships. Like I said, we're relating to everything. And I think this is something that a lot of people miss so often with the third eye chakra. They're like, I want to open my third eye and I want to see angels and I don't see colors and I'm not clairvoyant. And I'm like, eek. Like, number one, the more you say that you can't see, the more that you say you're not clairvoyant, the more that you say you can't you're pretty much shutting down that muscle, that intuitive muscle. Remember, whatever we think about, we bring about, whatever we affirm in our reality, whether it's we want it or we don't, or, we can or we can't, that's what we're actually manifesting and creating to an extent. So when we look at, like, I want to be able to see more of my third eye, I want to open my third eye, or my third eye is not open, or blah, 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 it's so important to remember that everything that you're saying is either opening it or closing it. Yeah? Relationship stuff. Yes. It's all about the relationship that you have with your third eye. It's all about the relationship that you have with your clairvoyance. It's almost, I almost want to say it has nothing to do with, and a little bit of like contradictory here, it almost is like it has nothing to do with sitting there and putting bright light on it and forcing it to open. Like, yeah, you can try doing that, but reality is that your third eye won't be forced open. Like, if you look at your third eye like a small child in a, you know, dark room, so scared, like, it's gonna take time to build that trust to open, right? And this is where, like, people are like, oh, I did a third eye meditation and it didn't open. It's like, yeah, for a first time, I doubt whether it would open too, right? Number one, it's a muscle and it takes time to build that trust in the relationship. Then we drop into past lives. So with the third eye, it's about seeing the truth in the right now. It's about seeing the future, and it's about seeing your past. So there's past, present, and future that we're tapping into with the third eye chakra consciousness all the time. You know how they say that there is no time? So when we're looking at something, and this is where you get to advance your psychic skills, this is where you get to enhance your clairvoyance and get to amplify your intuitive abilities, in the fact that you remember that you are highly intuitive, you're highly sensitive, and you can see the truth in the right now, in the future, and in the past, all at the same time. Now, what do I mean by that, right? Now, when we look at our empath abilities, our intuitive abilities, and I saw someone say just then that they just discovered they're an empath, and so welcome, welcome, welcome. Now we get to fine tune those empath abilities, that now we get to fine tune those intuitive abilities so we don't get wiped by the energy and we can actually see the dynamics of what's going on. So big piece with the third eye chakra consciousness is that we are allowing ourselves to build that relationship and that intuitive ability to be able to see all the things that are going on all the time and understanding the dynamics of the relationship, right? So I'm just going to put my earphones in while they deliver this water for me. All right. Sorry, this might be a bit noisy. Okay. So, I feel like I haven't had water delivery for ages. Okay. So we get to see the truth about what's going on in the past, the present, and the future at the same time. So in the third eye chakra consciousness and in trust intuition, I teach this deeply, right? Because when we're feeling and seeing something, right, you know, like we're an empath and we feel this energy and we, you know, get these feelings and we're like, ow, what's going on? We get to fine tune what it is that we're feeling. Yeah. Now, people think that seeing with your clairvoyance is like seeing a ghost in front of you. Now, while for some people that is true and that is what it is, it's not the only way that your clairvoyance works. Yeah, your clairvoyance works through your other intuitive organs. And again, this is what I teach in Trust Intuition, because people are like, I don't see, I'm not clairvoyant, I'm blah, blah, blah. And when we actually think about it, it's kind of like, for me personally, I don't see a ghost in front of me. Like, rarely do I see that, right? But I deeply know it's there. I feel it at my core. And therefore, with me feeling that, I feel that presence. I'm like, oh, there's something there, right? And immediately I can see it. Now, I don't mean that I can see the ghost standing there in front of me like a person, but I can see it, right? And that sounds contradictory. But what we're seeing is that I can feel it, and I just know that they're wearing blue jeans and a red shirt, for example, right? And so when that person is standing there, I can see it because I feel the presence, I know it, and therefore I see it in my mind's eye, in my third eye. We also have to remember that when we are able to feel and know all this truth, it's about discerning what's truth, right? So the biggest thing that I always say is always ask, is it of 100% light? Is what I'm seeing, is what I'm sensing, is what I'm knowing of 100% light? Is this of 100% light before I even talk to it? Right? Now, it's best to ask 3 times, are you of 100% light? Are you of 100% light? Are you of 100% light? If it's not of 100% light, it will disappear, right? If it is of 100% light, it'll stay. Now, some people use Archangel Michael as the intermediary, so always ask Archangel Michael of 100% light to communicate. We have to remember that when we open spiritually and we open our crown and we work on our intuitive abilities, we start to feel. Remember, I always say at the crown chakra, we open and we feel. Because the heart is immediately activated, and usually we've been shut down and blocked off all our emotions for a long time. So the first thing that's going to surface is anger. Anger about what we're seeing in our reality because we don't want to see it. Like, oh my God, is that really happening? Oh my God. It's like shock. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to see that. Like, is this the truth of my reality? And then we go through all the emotions of feeling. Now, some people think that's a bad thing, right? But when we start opening our psychic abilities, when we start really deeply feeling into what's truth, and start to understand the relationship dynamics of such, right? That person with the blue jeans and the red shirt, for example, it's like, is this someone who's passed over in this life? Third eye not only drops into past, present, and future, this is mediumship, dreams, clairvoyance, like all those things, yeah? So mediumship, and then discerning whether that person is someone who is deceased and passed over, or whether this person is an angel or a spirit guide. How do we know that difference? And this is where starting to understand the different relationship dynamics is so important. I think this is such a crucial thing. Someone posted the other day, just randomly came up on my feed, and they said, I'm confused. Isn't it like all intuitives are mediums? And I was like, yes, but it depends on their training. And what I meant by that is that, yeah, 100%. And this is where I'm deeply passionate about teaching people, I want to say the right way, teaching people all the things, which again is what I teach in Trust Intuition. Everything is in there, right? Because when we start trusting our intuition, when we start opening up psychically and spiritually, not only do we sense the spirit guides and the angels and all that sort of thing, we're also feeling and seeing dark spirits, entities, people that have passed over, presences in the bedroom. They get stronger. Why? Because all of a sudden you've awoken and your light has become stronger, and all those people in the spirit world are like, oh, light. They know that you can sense them. Now they'll either want help or something else or blah, 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 blah. There's lots of different variables here. What's really important is that with the past, present, and future, when you do sense a presence, number one, are you of 100% light? First thing you always need to ask. Next thing, always remember to ask more questions. Everybody forgets to ask more questions. They're like, I sensed this thing, or I saw this thing, and I got scared, or I didn't know what to do. And I'm like, the first thing you do is ask more questions. Ask more questions. Who are you? What do you need? What are you here for? You know, all the things. If there was a stranger that turned up in your house, you'd be like, who are you? Get out, right? The spirit world is exactly the same. So at the third eye chakra, right, at the crown chakra, we're opening to spirit. We're like, oh, so amazing. And then reality hits and we're like, oh my God, all this grief and anger and all this stuff that I've been suppressing, now that the light is coming in to support me to open, rather than being contracted in all this subconscious burial of feelings that I've been holding all my life, right? When we can allow our third eye to discern what's going on, what relationship, it's like there's so many different factors. So number one, third eye is all about relationships. Relationships to your phone, to your food, to your car, to your intimate relationships, to your children, to your family, to the outside world. It's also relationships to the animal kingdom, to the spirit kingdom, to angels, to spirit, to all different pieces. Now, what you have to remember is that you do not need to help everybody who comes to you from the spirit world. That's just the difference between the spirit world and the physical world is there is no difference. The boundaries are exactly the same. Just like you wouldn't have a stranger walk into your house, you wouldn't have a spirit just walk into your house either, okay? The boundaries are exactly the same. So when we look at the boundaries around the relationship with people and the the spirits that turn up, we're looking with our third eye. Now again, you might not be able to see them, but you know what they look like. You get a feeling about it, and maybe you feel the color blue. Who here feels colors? Right? Some people are like, I don't see, but I'm feeling this. Right? And this is where trust intuition and also Get Clear Intuition, if you've got Get Clear Intuition, is my mini course on how to distinguish these different spiritual organs. These are the basis of your psychic awareness, right? And if you don't have a relationship with your third eye, with your spiritual organs, you're just going to be in a big friggin' mess, right? It's like, and this is where it takes trust, time, dedication. You're building a relationship with your third eye. You're building a relationship with the other spiritual organs, right? Now, when we see, right, it's like we've got our past lives and present and future life. Now, that's like a starting point, okay? When we look through the third eye and we've got past, present, future, there's also the multi-dimensional universe, right? There's all different realms. And when we really step into opening those realms is at the ear chakras, yeah? So, Tamara says most of the time I just know it's blue, yeah. So we either know it, feel it, sense it, and therefore we see it. We're like, well, I know what the color blue looks like, so therefore I see it, right? Now, some people do see proper visions, and some people do see the different areas of, your life, and the piece with understanding the relationships, right? And the dynamics drops into when we see something, right? We see something in the right now. So we're like, okay, I'm seeing this relationship dynamic with my partner right now, right? Or with this person in my life. We're like, whew, okay, maybe it's a bit full on. The thing with seeing that relationship, or there's stuff going on, there's issues going on, right? It's all about relationships. We're like, we're here, okay? We're seeing it, 2 eyes. We're like, and sometimes we don't want to see it. Yeah? Then we go into, and this is what I teach, right? There's so many different layers, dynamics, doorways, if you may, threads, if you may, that when we look at the right now, that's what we're seeing in the right now. Then we've got a future, and then we've got a past life, or many past lives, right? When we look at this current issue in the relationship, there's kind of a system, an intuitive system that we go through to work through in this, like currently what's going on, and then we're unpicking and unthreading, where did this happen in my past, like in my child, like from now until when I was born, like where is this dynamic played out before, and then where has this happened in past lives, where has this happened in future lives. Now you might be like, Hannah, the future hasn't happened, but when you remember that everything is now, they're all interconnected and they're all playing out different timelines in the right now, like parallel lives, parallel universes. And so when we can know the dynamics or see the dynamics and understand through training, again, this is what I teach in Trust Intuition and in the Advanced Third Eye Chakra Consciousness, this is understanding the truth about what's going on. Understanding dimensional lives, understanding how we get there, how we heal them, understanding what happened in those past lives and how that plays out this life. So I guess a simple example would be, in the past life you were beheaded, you were, either your throat was cut or you were beheaded. So in this lifetime you have trouble speaking up and speaking your truth, especially to those people that may have been involved in that circle of who beheaded you in the first place. So when we can see what's going on with a current issue in our current life and we're like, this is like confronting or whatever, if we're not looking deeper, we'll just stay there and we'll probably avoid it or miss a great opportunity to build an amazing relationship, or we do need to leave that situation, right? But if we don't heal that issue about what's coming up, right? That's gonna stay there and follow you, and it's almost like a brick wall or a concrete wall that will just be part of your life, and you'll just experience this kind of little box like life that's like really stuck and stagnant and, you know, structured, and, you know, maybe you're happy with that, that's fine, right? But if you really want to create the life that you see others living and you get angry and resentful or jealous and you know you can live that deep inside, we want to open that door. We want to understand the different layers of consciousness that stem from this lifetime, from past lifetimes, from the future lifetimes, and then dropping in the multidimensional realms. So at the third eye chakra consciousness, when we look at, say, this layer, and then we drop to our, you know, childhood, and then we drop deeper into past life, into the subconscious, and then we drop into the future realms and the multidimensional realms, like, it literally is limitless, and you can get lost in it, right? Go down the rabbit hole, as they say. The piece here, and the reason I'm explaining this, is because some people are like, oh, they're intuitive, so they should be a medium. And people are like, well, no. And I'm like, well, and I said, well, yes, but that depends on the level of their training. It depends on their consciousness and understanding of all these different layers, of all the threads and how everything connects. Because the thing is that when somebody passes over, when somebody dies in this lifetime, and then somebody goes for a mediumship session, if that medium is not understanding of all the childhood kind of traumas, like dynamics, the things that play out, not necessarily that person, just in general, right? If they don't understand the third eye chakra consciousness in its full depth, they're not really going to be able to hold a mediumship session that's actually going to heal and allow that person to move on. Well, maybe they will, right? But, you know, I'm not saying anything's right or wrong, but I'm like, if you really want to work with healing, rather than just like passing a message on, and it's understanding the layers of dynamics, right, of the relationship. Because when somebody dies and they turn up in a mediumship session, you have to understand that nobody has then magically turned into this God-sent angel and they're like amazing angel from heaven and everything they say is like God. Like, no, you have to look at that person who has passed over, who shows up in a mediumship session with the same addictions, with the same emotional traumas, with the same problems, with the same issues that they were dealing with all the family members as when they were alive. That is a reality fact, right? And if you look at them and put them on a pedestal and take their word as gospel, you're going to be going down paths that are not meant for you. You have to treat them as the same as when they were alive, yeah? So the reason that I'm dropping into mediumship and understanding these different layers is because you can start to understand addiction then. Now, the third eye chakra is deeply connected to the sacral chakra. The third eye is one in from the top and the sacral chakra is one in from the bottom, right? The third eye has the hand posture of this in the light field yoga that I teach. And when we go down to the sacral chakra, it's the same on our belly down here. Yeah? It's a mirror. Do you guys want my earphones in or is it better without? I'm just going to take them out. All right. Maybe it's better without. So it's the same down. Yeah? Now, understanding the depth of these layers that I'm talking about, we start to understand addiction. Yeah? Because addiction comes from suppressing the pain of all the layers. Yeah? You can understand why when we feel like we've gone back to the same relationship, we might be playing out the same patterns, but we can see how deep this might stem. And this is why some people don't really heal from certain relationships, because there's deep past life trauma or deep future dimensional parallel lifetimes, because they're all alive and active right now. Yeah. So when we look at the depth of the layers through the third eye chakra consciousness and understanding, you know, the mediumship aspect, understanding the past lives, understanding how the past life played out in the childhood and the people that you grew up with, and then understanding how the people in your current lifetime right now, and understanding what's happening in your physical life right now, like there's a lot of layers there, right? Is this really deep for you? Or are you right there and you got this and you're like, whoa, this is really big, Hannah? Let me know how you're feeling about this, because we are diving deep here. The third eye chakra consciousness is deep. All of them are deep, all of them are big, but the third eye is like next level, yeah? So when we look at addiction, yeah, addiction's like the surface thing on top here, and then you've got all these layers and all these like webs and realms that go off here. Yeah. So when we look at understanding addiction, and as I always say, I'm like, do not focus on the addiction. Look at what's going on underneath, because if you try and focus on the addiction, all this stuff's just gonna surface and bubble up. I'm like, if you clear all this, that's not even gonna need to be there. It's like a whole different reality, because that energy isn't there anymore. It's not easy, is it? All right, so we've covered third eye chakra, past, future, present life, multi-dimensional lives. So future, the parallel lives, all of that. Yeah, it's awesome, right? It's deep. It's deep. People are like, how are you so deep? I'm like, I've like gone through this every year in reality awareness on live stream like this. But since 2005, I've traveled through the chakra journey like in full depth. Like I think I'd be up to the 4th time now, going through them all deeply, and now I'm creating them. And yeah, people are like, how are you so deep? I'm like, yeah. lived it over and over. All right, so mediumship we've covered, past, present, future lives, seeing. All right, clairvoyance and seeing. So as I said, there's lots of different ways we can see. A lot of people are like, I don't see, and we know to not affirm that anymore, where they're like, I'm getting better at seeing with my clairvoyance. I'm seeing more and more and more with my clairvoyance, and my third eye is becoming safer to open with me. These are the words and the affirmations that you want to create to build with your third eye. Yeah, deep is good. Yeah. So positive affirmations, opening affirmations. We want to create safety and trust in the relationship with the third eye. Yeah. So we want to create consistency and turning up to connect with your third eye through whatever meditation, through whatever journeying, through past life, through going through the advanced chakra consciousness, like all of that. Yeah. And when we actually look at the third eye chakra, it's seeing, you see more than what you realize. You do. Okay. Because when people are like, I don't see, and I'm like, do you see angel numbers everywhere? Do you see like 1111 and 222 and 333 and then all these other repeating numbers, and you're like, I see all these numbers, what do they mean? And they're like, oh yeah, I do all the time in my car and on number plates and on my clock and blah blah blah. And I'm like, you're clairvoyant. And it's so important to see these little pieces here, because all these little pieces that we celebrate, how much we're seeing, what's going to happen, we're going to see more. Yeah. It's the same with seeing a sign, you know, attend this class, like everywhere you go. I started going to yoga classes back in 2006 because I used to work in Brisbane City for 18 months, and I used to catch the bus home. And, you know, there was a lot of like flyers up on traffic light poles and stuff back then. And, you know, it was like this yoga class, and then another one was this yoga class and this yoga class. And I'm like, okay, I get the message. I'm going to yoga class. I'll find a yoga class. And it's like, you know, and so we're seeing in the physical realm. Yeah. So we're seeing number plates or numbers or, you know, certain type of trees, and you know that trees are connected to the heart, or you're seeing animals and you know what their message is. Like, that's your clairvoyance. Like, you might know what the animal means, but you're seeing the bird flying past, and you know that's an eagle, and you know that eagles are connected to spirit. And so you're seeing your intuition. You're seeing, yeah? Like, that's so important to realize how much we do see, because I bet you see so much more than what you realize, yeah? Celebration is key. That's right. The more we celebrate, the more we amplify what we're celebrating. So, okay, so we're seeing so much more. Then there's also the visions. So who has had the experience that when you're falling asleep, you're you know, in that kind of relaxed state, and you're almost asleep, and then you kind of have this vision, and you're like, oh, I just saw it, and then it disappears. Who's ever had that experience before? So the more relaxed we are, the more our third eye is going to open. So yes, building trust and safety and consistency with turning up to connect with your third eye, like 100%. But then also getting out of the the fight or flight mode. Yeah, we want to switch off into that, is it parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous state? The calm state. I always get them mixed up. So the more relaxed we are, the more we're going to see, the more our intuition is there. Yes, even awake. Yeah. So even when we're awake. So for me, I see a lot. Lena says I've seen light codes in that state. Yeah, awesome. And so the more relaxed we are, right, you can take that as a sign, right? The more relaxed you are, the more you're going to see. Yeah. So when we can know that that's how we see, and that level of relaxed state, I want to say is our natural state, but we're so accustomed to living in a fast-paced world, drinking coffee, all the things that switch on our cortisol and blah, 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 blah. Like everyone's like, I can't see. And I'm like, you're probably running around doing a million things and blah, 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 right? But when you're in your most relaxed state, that's when you're going to see more. Yeah. Yes, and dreams about the third eye. So your dreams, thank you for bringing that up, because our dreams are also our clairvoyance. So we've spoken about mediumship, seeing out there, seeing our visions inside of our third eye, also seeing colors, of course. And, you know, for me, like I was just sharing before, like the mundane stuff, if I'm packing the dishwasher or having a shower, driving, you know, it's when I get a lot of visions and information as well, right? So in those sort of, I want to say mundane tasks, it's, you know, that very... what is that saying? Before enlightenment, chop wood. After enlightenment, chop wood. Like that's the deep meaning of it, right? Like you're gonna do the same tasks, but you're gonna be more connected and catch those visions. And you probably have had those visions or had intuition before in those states, but you didn't take notice of them so much. And now you're training yourself to take notice of them, for example, right? So Yes, all right, just moving this, the sun's getting on there as the pink and grey galah comes through. So, all right, so looking at dreams and dream interpretation. Again, dream interpretation comes with practice, just like mediumship skills and understanding all those layers. Yeah, when you can understand those layers, which is the basis of the third eye chakra consciousness, understanding the dynamics, understanding how to pick apart and heal them is another skill in itself, right? You might understand them, but when we can actually understand what we need to do to heal that aspect, and so it doesn't resurface or recreate the same thing again, or another bit surfaces, like that's another skill in itself. And again, this is what I teach in the advanced third eye chakra consciousness. So when we look at understanding dreams, you know, I almost want to say like the depth and basis of your healing abilities and your intuitive interpretation of messages comes from the third eye. You know, if you've seen my posts the past couple of days, I've really been sharing my voice finally again. And, you know, I've been going through a big process in like, why am I always in these like shit ass relationships? Why have I been through this? Like the past 10 years is really coming up for surfacing and healing or whatever, clearing, whatever. And I've been reflecting and I'm like, why has it been like bad relationship after bad relationship? And then I was like, man, like I want to say half my content in reality awareness is understanding narcissistic relationships, understanding all these threads. And I'm like, man, if I didn't go through all that stuff, I wouldn't understand the depth of clarity of these levels of relationships and where they stem from and how to heal them. And, you know, the clients that I've worked with and where that drops to and hearing their problems and then understanding and picking apart that from what Spirit's been showing me. Like I just put all that in the third eye chakra consciousness because I'm like, that's how that was created, right? So it's really interesting when we look at what we've gone through is a big aspect of our life purpose too, because I was working through understanding, I'm like, oh, it's bad that half the content in reality awareness is like, you know, leaving narcissistic relationships and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, not really, because relationships is the core of understanding anything on this planet. Like, absolutely anything. And then when we take this through to our intuitive abilities, like you can guarantee that anyone that comes to you as a healer has some sort of relationship problem. Like it's like where we kind of start in a way. Like you want to grow wealth and abundance and, you know, and you're only focusing on money, like it's all the family history that you need to clear out. It's the relationship with your boss. It's all these things, right? Because if you're working on this, it's that stuff, you know. Again, it comes back to the relationship, comes back to the relationship with money. So when we understand that everything is a relationship, and if you want to increase your intuitive abilities, the third eye chakra consciousness is where it's at, right? And again, in Trust Intuition, I teach you how to decipher, unpick, and then go into the depths of the layers. So dreams come in symbols. Sometimes, I know someone was sharing there, the dreams can come in symbols. Dreams cannot be clear in understanding in the start. Back to, you know, when I was first awoken in 2005, like that place in Brisbane was such a healing time for me. It was like 18 months. I remember, like, I think I ended up burning that dream book when I had a big bonfire a couple of years ago, but I would write down my dreams, and none of them made sense. But every morning I woke up and I'd write it down and I'd write it down and I'd write it down. Even though it didn't make sense, that I know helped to ground something down. And this is where I'm always so passionate. I'm like, come out of one of my meditations, I want you to open up your special journal and I want you to write down, I didn't get anything, Hannah, or I didn't feel anything, or actually all this amazing stuff happened. Or you draw a flower, or you draw a love heart in pink. The colors are so important to like activating your clairvoyance and your intuitive abilities, like so important. So really using the color and activating through all of that, like on paper, is so important, even if you don't get anything, right? And I know, and I credit so much to my dream interpretation and my intuitive skills to that time where every morning I wrote down my dreams, and it was just like this big book of just nothing made sense, right? Okay, so with nightmares, nightmares are very much understanding the subconscious. Nightmares are fears that you haven't processed. It can also be other people's energy in your energy field, that you're carrying people and stuff like that as well. So really important to clear your energy before you go to bed, clear the house, all of that sort of thing. But nightmares definitely stem from subconscious fears. But I want to say like 70 to 80% of nightmares are you carrying somebody else's energy in your field. So for kids and stuff like that, so important for watercolor painting or clearing the energy of them and their room before you go to sleep. Teaching them that as well, so important. Okay, so what else is there for the third eye chakra consciousness? So the third eye chakra relates to our liver, obviously to our eyes, and also to our liver and our gallbladder. So the liver is where we see the truth. So when we start seeing the truth, working on our dynamics, we can get really angry, right? So at the crown, we can get angry. At the third eye, we don't want to see, and then we get angry because we're like, how have we been living in this? Or if we're going through a relationship breakup or relationship separation or understanding relationships, we're like, how's this been in my life for so long? We can get angry about it. It's part of the grief cycle, but our liver is the size of a rugby ball in our, just under our rib cage, right on our right side. And that is the filter of our body. Now, if your liver is clogged, you can be angry. So an old generational term is SOL, shit on the liver. It means your liver is clogged. And if your liver is clogged, you get angry. So if you're angry a lot of the time, you might need to do a liver detox. If you've never detoxed your liver, it's like never putting your car in for a service, right? Like we really need to make sure that our car is serviced because they change the filter and oil and whatever else they do. But if that filter is never changed, that's going to clog up and eventually stop your car, right? So your liver is exactly the same. It's the second biggest organ in your body. The first biggest organ is your skin, right? So your liver is so important and deeply related to the third eye. So if you wake up between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning, it's related to the liver. In traditional Chinese medicine, that's the liver time. So liver gallbladder time, I think it's 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., I think from memory. Definitely 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is liver. So if you're waking up in the night, your liver might be clogged. So a couple of things here, looking at the physical aspects. Did you eat a lot of dairy? meat products, greasy food, like, because your liver's on the verge of being overloaded, alcohol, those things are going to tip it over the edge, and you're going to wake up between 1 and 3 a.m. On a metaphysical level, something is out of alignment in your life, and you're holding into resentment and anger towards that person and or situation in your life, right? I remember when I was in the toxic, codependent cycle of relationship, I would wake up consistently at 1 to 3 a.m. and I knew that it was because I wasn't living in alignment with my truth, wasn't living in alignment with my purpose, wasn't living in alignment with the people that I was hanging around most of the time, and hanging on to those relationships that I knew were not good for me. The alignment piece is at your solar plexus, and the solar plexus is where we're empowered or disempowered in relationships. Liver, so interconnected, right? Are we empowered in our relationships, or are we disempowered? Are we disempowering ourselves by not listening to our intuition about the things that we need to do to take action on? We can get depressed and our crown chakra's pressed down because we're closing the light, because we don't want to see that truth, because we want to be with them, because there's whatever connection from a past life or something. It's deep, right? So you can understand that this is why, personally I like working with people over a period of time, 3 months, 12 months, because this stuff you can't just heal in a 30-minute session. You can give you guidance and say, yeah, this is going on, but if you really want to shift it, it's like, over a consistent period of time, we can really go deep into these layers, because it does take time. It really does take time. All right, so third eye chakra, consciousness. I'm just conscious my battery's gonna die, so I'm just double checking that I've covered the most important pieces. We've covered dreams and dream interpretation. We've covered the what's it called, past lives, future lives, sleep times. Let's have a look. Mediumship, there's a lot here. The relationships, these dropping into the layers. So the third eye chakra, consciousness, as you probably know, is related to the deep indigo blue. And you can start to also, work on your pineal gland as well. Obviously, it's very connected to the third eye, is the other physical organ. And what was I just going to say? That you can start affirming, I see with my 3 eyes. Because we do have 3 eyes, our 2 physical and our third eye. So when you're like needing clarity about a situation, you can go, okay, 3 eyes, what am I seeing about this situation? So instead of like trying to figure it out with 2 in the physical world, we can be like really working on connecting the relationship between the 3 of them. Now, in the crystalline chakra activations, which is, I'm not sure if you guys have got them yet. Some of you have, I know. This is the crystalline chakra activation series. So there's nine activations that I've gone through and recorded specifically for these chakras. And in the third eye chakra, like the crystalline chakra, in the bonus of that whole set is, I can't remember what I called it. It's like a diagnosis sheet. Oh my goodness, the words slipped my mind. It's a diagnosis sheet in a sense that it gives you the understanding of the relationship between your third eye and the crown. The relationship between your third eye and the ears. The relationship between your third eye and your throat. The relationship between your third eye and your heart. And it goes through and you understand the dynamics that your relationship with your third eye and your sacral chakra has, for example. It gives you the negative blocked aspect and it gives you the positive unblocked aspect. So the dark and the light, and being able to work with that, right? So you can see how this is so deep, because it's not just the layers of like the issue right now, and then we drop into childhood, then we drop into past life, and then we drop into future lives, and then we drop into all the different multidimensional realms and clear and unblock and release all those layers. It's also like, okay, and then what is the relationship my third eye has with my sacral chakra or my heart? Like there's so many different layers there, right? So that is a bonus in the Crystalline Chakra activation. So if you've got the Crystalline Chakra activations and you haven't gone into the bonus section to download those PDFs, I highly recommend going through and having them like by your side as your little like kind of go-to when there's issues going on. You can even just scroll through it and see what jumps out at you, and you can work with that Crystalline Chakra activation. So the link for the Crystalline Chakra activations is in the title of this live stream, or you can find it on my website as well, or send me a message if you can't find it. So Archangel Gabriel and Archangel Raziel are deeply connected with the third eye chakra. Raziel for transforming the truth. And then also Archangel Jeremiel is like the third eye chakra archangel, seeing the truth in relationships. If you've got relationship issues, call on Archangel Raziel, Jeremiel, to help heal those relationship dynamics. Jeremiel helps to transform the dynamics, and Gabrielle helps to nurture them back to the truth and wholeness. Yeah. All right. So I think I've covered all. Yeah. So the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the eyes, of course, and the, I guess, symbology as well for the third eye chakra is spiders and the web, because there's these webs of consciousness, and then the relationship between the webs, and then the webs of our chakras and the relationships. Like this, so as you can see, you can go down the rabbit hole with this stuff, right? So, all right, I know that my phone's gonna die, but of course I did that in perfect timing to get everything I wanted covered for the third eye chakra consciousness. So as we go through this week, be conscious that we're dropping into the ear chakras, which is opening to receive the divine feminine, opening to receive the multi-dimensional realms, and grounding into reality a taste of what you've been working through, right? Because at the ear chakras, as I always say, they're connected to the crown. So the ears, the heart, and the base chakra are deeply connected. And at the ear chakra, we're grounding it into reality because the ears are connected to the base. Yep. And the cows are back, which is that nurturing, opening feminine. The third eye chakra is deeply masculine in its energy, right? Yes, they both have both energies, but the third eye chakra is more masculine than feminine. At the crown chakra last week, you might have seen that the crown, like, it's the feminine. The cows were all around, and it's deeply connecting to the goddess and the nurturing. And now the cows are back, and the ears are opening opening to receive the truth, and starting to get into the throat of speaking your truth, but not just speaking it, but living it. So you might come into some like rapid shifts over the next couple of weeks, things that have been stuck and stagnant starting to move forward, things starting to manifest, or huge realizations of the changes that you do need to make. Yeah. All right, so I've just pulled a card from the beautiful Rumi deck to really tie off this live stream. I don't know if you can really see that with the light. It's so beautiful with the different colors and the blessings of Al-Hakim. So let's see what this is about. Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. So we're stepping into releasing control at the third eye and stepping back into the magic of the truth, which sometimes can be painful, but when we clear out what is not in alignment, we start to tap back into our magic. Yeah. Cleverness is opinion, bewilderment is vision. There we go. It's like literally the Rumi quote. Cleverness is opinion, is judgment, that's the control. Bewilderment is the vision. It allows your magic to come back. Of course, this is so on point, right? The gift of wisdom, the blessing of Al-Hakim, gurgles up from your heart. Her blessing is evoked by life, like the laughter of a babe, joyfully responding to the playful tickle of the mother's hand. Wisdom can make divine sense of anything, especially of that where logic is blinded. Seeing this? Are you seeing this? How I rever the blessing of Al-Hakim of wisdom, for she is precious and welcome to me now, and always the dear friend who brings me such peace. So this is where we might be seeing the truth in our reality, and if you're feeling angry or frustrated, you're healing your heart. Yeah, the crown, the heart was automatically activated. The third eye, we see the truth, and that needs to, sometimes we need to still hear, we see truth in the reality, and we don't like it. We're like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be, but all that's happening is anger or stuff that you've buried still in your heart. And as that comes up and out, it creates space for the magic of life to come back. So you're actually living in your vision and seeing and like stepping into that vision, rather than just keep brushing it off or blocking it out and wonder why nothing's working in your life, right? This is special. A blessing of divine wisdom of Al-Hakim is being ministered to your soul, watched over by Rumi himself. This is soul medicine. It is spiritual gift of healing, prophecy, insight, and the capacity to surrender to any impatient claim for what you cannot have. As you receive this gift, this blessing which happens at a soul level, your attitude to life becomes more curious, open, still, and receptive. What's that? Oh, we're dropping into the ears. As we let go of control, we step back into our magic and we open to the curiousness. What did it say? Curious, open, still, and receptive. It's the feminine, yeah. As the kookaburra starts to chime in, that's the manifestation of purpose, your intuitive abilities, and what you're doing with them. This oracle comes to you with special guidance to bring you peace. Look to the old ways, to the ancient wisdom teachings that run as one vein of life, giving love through all traditions. The old wisdoms teach of cycles of timing, of letting go to allow for new life to happen, and of the greater intelligence and scheme of life to which we must surrender if we are ever to know a moment's peace. This is really letting go of the control and blocking your intuitive wisdom because you're hanging on to something from the past or there's a connection. The peace here is that you don't trust that divine wisdom. You don't trust your light. You don't trust your intuition. You don't, because otherwise you wouldn't be in that cycle. You would be here, stepping in and embracing that light, stepping in and living that vision, not just seeing it and blocking it out and thinking it's there. It's literally dropping into your heart, trusting that vision, yeah? So trust your intuition, again, is where I teach all of this, how to trust your intuition, because a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm really intuitive, but they're not actually living the truth. They're not actually living their intuition. They're not actually living the wisdom. They're not actually living the vision of who they came to be, yeah? So Trust Intuition is open. We're starting the 10-week course on the 5th of July, and that is coming into becoming a certified intuitive healer. Of course, you don't have to do the certification, but we do this work anyway, and if you're here, this is what you are born to do in some capacity, shape or form. Of course, you don't have to have a big online business like I do, but it is about understanding all those dynamics of relationships so that you don't get drained, just even with your friends and family, yeah? So someone asked, what deck is it? It's the Rumi Oracle by Alana Fairchild. It's such a beautiful deck, right? Okay, so it says, you may feel unexpectedly perhaps that in some ways your vision for your life and your purpose, your divine passion, is clearer than ever before, and in other ways completely unknown to you and yet to be made, a discovery yet to be made. That is as it should be. Wisdom bestows upon us the same capacity to work with the opportunities that are right before us, to release situations and circumstances that have passed, and allow the future to take its shape according to the ineffable timing of life itself. That is like confirming everything I just said, right? Of course it is. Of course it is. Oh, that's so beautiful. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for the Third Eye Chakra Consciousness. Keep an eye out for other things that I share this week. I have a feeling I'm going to release something pretty special coming up for this Chakra Consciousness journey. So keep your eyes out, and I shall see you very soon, probably later this week, for an update for the Third Eye Chakra Consciousness. As always, be conscious we're dropping into the ear chakra consciousness, and so then your throat might be starting to activate as well. And I shall see you next week for our ear chakra consciousness. Love you guys. Bye.